Hello and welcome to hQuestBuilder. This is just a quick video run through of all the main features and how to use generally all the kind of different areas of hQuestBuilder to help create some great HeroQuest quests. I'm aware I haven't done one of these videos for a little while, but if you're new to hQuestBuilder, hopefully this will give you a bit of a streamlined kind of trip around some of the main features. When you first come to the site, you'll see this hopefully helpful help and info panel. The whole point of this is to give you a reference to this video if you ever need it. There's a link if you would like to support hQuestBuilder, which is always appreciated. There's also a list of features that have been added relatively recently. I get quite a few requests for hQuestBuilder, and I think it's quite nice to hopefully show that I'm responding to that, and you can see some notes about the things that have been added relatively recently. So I'm actually recording this on the 1st of April 2022, and there are actually some updates that have gone up relatively recently. If you're curious to see the things which have also been added kind of over the kind of last month or so, or kind of before they kind of went away from the new list, you can click this and it will show you all the notes of all the things which have been added since it first kind of came out of very kind of closed beta testing. A little bit further down, and it'll be a little bit closer if I close this up again, you've got a list of basically all the requests which I've kind of listed that I'm kind of looking at or I've noted down. So if you see it here, I am aware of it and I will try and look at it at some point. But always feel free to get in touch, and if you've got feedback, I'm always open to kind of suggestions and thoughts, or just to hear how you've been getting on with things, basically. Um, there's a thanks area down here, also a link to contact me directly if you want to, and various kind of thanks to some great people who have been really helpful during the creation of hQuestBuilder. A little bit further down, if you speak a different language and would like to translate some of the core UI into your native language, do reach out because I have the facility to do that. If you're Italian, Spanish, or German, hopefully you will see that some of the UI elements are pretty much reflected now in your native languages. So yeah, let's get away from this rather long modal. And when you first come to hQuestBuilder, you will basically just see an empty board, which might not seem like there's very much happening here. But if you actually click one of the panels or one of the tiles on the actual map, it will present you with this whole list of all the hopefully fairly familiar artifacts that you can use to create your quests for HeroQuest. The style will default to the new style, which is HeroQuest 2021. But if you wish, you can actually style and kind of put icons on your board which are of the different types from EU and US from the past. You can also switch between this style at any point and it will just change the board, so you can kind of decide that at a later date if you want. So the way this works is a click and select method. So if you wanted to put, for example, a goblin here, you would do that. If you want to put doorways in a certain place, you can do this, and also you can rotate them. So if you keep clicking on the doorway, it will rotate in place. That's the same for um, secret passages or secret doors, sorry. Basically, you just go through and you just add the objects where you want them. If it occupies more than one space, it's likely it will be in the lower right if it's not a kind of a long item, or it will be in the middle. I tried to make that consistent, but hopefully you'll get around the kind of quirkiness of that. It was a little bit of a hard mechanic to figure out how it would work, but most of them should be fairly obvious. So if I wanted, for example, to put this bookshelf here, it will pivot around the center rather than the bottom right. This one is bottom right because it doesn't have a middle, and this one doesn't have a middle either. So it's kind of hopefully relatively intuitive. Like you say, you'll hopefully get used to the quirks of that relatively quickly. And that's the same for pretty much all the furniture. So if we want to put a table here, for example, we can do that. And again, keep clicking on that table to make sure that it rotates into the place that you want it in. A little bit further down, we have some annotations here. So if we wanted to put a note in here, we can just put here, and then we can say there's an A here, and then we can put that in our notes, which I'll come to shortly. There's also some directional arrows and some numbers there, and our hero icons here too. So Homebrew is for those people that would like to add something a little bit different to their board. So I've given a grid of up to 9 tiles here, which enables you to create effectively a homebrew palette. If you click on this, it will bring up a modal that will ask for a link to an image. So as an example here, I will copy this image reference in, say OK, and it will download that image from Imager. If you're wondering how that works, Imager, as far as I'm aware, is a completely free account to set up. You drag your images into Imager and it will create the tiles. Do try and keep them square because obviously they're occupying a square shape on the board. Otherwise the image will actually stretch, it won't stretch itself, but it will fit as neatly as it can within a square. But what you want once you've uploaded your image is to copy what's called the direct link here, which will have an extension at the end, which is PNG or JPEG or something like that. And that's exactly what I've just pasted in here. But this works in exactly the same way as all the other icons do. You can just click and then select where you want it to go and do that. If you want to remove it, you just hold down on that for a couple of seconds and another thing will come up to say, do you want to delete it? It's important to note that if you delete a homebrew icon from your palette, it doesn't delete it from the actual map. So that basically means that you can technically have as many homebrew icons as you want. But I won't remove that for now because I want to show you something so that if I reload this, everything saves in your browser's local storage, whether you're on a mobile or on a tablet or if you're on a desktop. So you actually have pretty much the facility to create some pretty hefty quests if you want to, and as many as you want. And again, I will come to that shortly in a moment. But equally, it will remember your homebrew palette when you reload as well, so you don't have to keep uploading or kind of linking through to those images. But let's remove our little skeleton face for now. I think that's everything for the kind of creation palette, as I call it, down the left-hand side here. If you want to delete one of the icons, you literally just highlight it and press this delete icon here. Equally, now this is a little bit tucked away, and I think some people haven't realized you can do this, but you can actually paint out some areas of the board as well. So there's something called solid rock, which basically, if you toggle this, it kind of creates a kind of paint tool that enables you to kind of click around. I know you have to do it a square at a time, and it might feel a little bit tedious. I actually found it quite therapeutic, to be honest. But yeah, it's a toggle status. So if it goes to an outline, it basically means it's in paint mode. And then you toggle it the other way. So it just means that you can paint out areas of the board. And as I mentioned, if you want to, you can completely change these aesthetics at any time. So you can switch between the modern style, the UK or EU style, and the kind of US style. And it's all seamless in there. But as I mentioned, there's also additional details for quests, because it's great having a map, but then what's the point in having a map when you don't have things like all the details that sit around it? So here you can basically compose your quest. So you can give it a title, you can give it a credit, you can create your narrative in here, you can add your notes and also indicate which wandering monster you want. By default, it will load up one quest for you. You can actually have as many quests as you want. So if I switch between these different list items here, you can see that in the background, everything's changing. And if I move on to here, these are all the notes and everything that I've made for that individual quest. If you want to add a new one, you just click Add New Quest. You give it a new name here. And then if you go back here, it will be reflected in your list here. And you can have as many of these pretty much as you want, to be honest. It will max out at some point, but that's quite a large storage space within your browser, so I think you'll be absolutely fine. If you're concerned about backing these up at any time, you can just click this little download icon here, and it will basically download a local file called a HQB file, which is all of your quest data. So if for whatever reason you're concerned that you might lose your local storage at one point, I'll demonstrate how this works in a second. So if I decide to delete the Lost Prince, and the Catacombs, and this as well, you can't actually delete the final one. It always has to have a quest in. So let's just clear our quest list completely. So there's nothing here at all. If I click this and then upload this .hqb file, which I just downloaded, it will warn you that it will basically clear out any quests that you've got currently. But if you say OK, it will refresh the page. If you go back in here and go here, it will have all of those quests. So if you want to, you can kind of create separate HQB files, which are kind of little groups of quests, or just use it as a general backup so that you don't lose any data, basically. If we're looking at a particular quest, there's a new feature which I added relatively recently, which enables you to do something called print preview. If you do print preview, it will effectively strip out all of the interface that we've been using to create our quest, and it will show what it will look like if it prints. Because to be very clear, if you do a print, so if we go to File up here and print, it will print the quest in that kind of format. It will have the fairly traditional kind of map at the top, your kind of introduction or kind of narrative bit here, and then all your notes underneath it here. You can do that at any time. You don't have to have it in the print view. The reason I've done this is that you can actually use relatively easy kind of screen capture software. So I use something called what is this thing called? It's called, it says hovering over it and not getting anything. Awesome Screenshot within Chrome. And that will actually enable you to capture the whole of this, and then you can upload it to Reddit, or you can share it just as an image. But equally, you can just hit print here. You can print it out to your local printer, or most browsers also have the ability to save as a PDF. I will say when you save it as a PDF, you might find that the lines on the map look a little bit strange, but if you actually physically print it, it will be fine. And like I say, if you decide to do a screen capture, that will also be fine as far as the kind of lines and everything are concerned. Uh, I think that's pretty much it. There is this final little tab here, which is talking about the facility to add cloud saving and sharing, which basically is in beta at the moment. Do feel free to sign up. It's something which was something I always looked at being that something that hQuestBuilder could do right from the very beginning. So rather than sending an image or a PDF of your quest, if you wanted to share it with the community, you could actually just send a link and it would actually have your quest on there. But currently, that's still a work in progress. So if you're interested in being a part of that, then yeah, definitely drop me a line or just fill in the request join beta form that's linked to there. I think that's everything. If you're curious to see, you can have this working on a mobile phone, but I would recommend you rotate it to this orientation because you can actually quite easily scroll up and down on the map and access all of the various items on here quite easily. Um, I've had a couple of feedback from people which I think they don't quite get that actually if you rotated the phone, you would have a little bit more screen real estate. Equally, it's been optimized so it should work on touch devices pretty nicely, so whether it's a phone or a tablet, but equally, just as friendly to use on a desktop too. But anyway, I have no idea how long I've been talking for, but that's hopefully just a kind of whistle-stop tour of all the areas of hQuestBuilder, and hopefully you can enjoy creating some quests. Do get in touch and tell me how you're getting on. Thanks very much, and I'll send another update soon. Take care now.